I say, support my nards. Welcome to season 6, where we're phoning it in.
You don't think critically and then put a Pop-Tart into your body.
I am highly caffeinated and minorly concussed.
Aruga!
What came first, the love sack or the gravity gun?
It's my turn to do a sin with Sonic.
This is for the freaks.
Too much piss.
That's the kind of bad decisions we like to hear about.
Love me a sleepy ass bat.
How much shrimp can you fit in your mortal body?
You told me you guys would be cool.
That's season 6 intro material right there. Hello and welcome to Debate This, the show where no one is right, but someone is definitely wrong. In this show, we take time out of our busy adult lives to talk about comic books, video games, and how every time a streaming service suggests a category to me called something like competition reality TV shows, I feel like a sailor being called to the depths by a siren song.
I'm sorry, Matt.
Sure.
Sounds rough.
Like, I just finished one about chainsaw carving on Discovery Plus that was really good.
Sure.
I don't know. Anyway, look, y'all, I love me a good spin-off. I'd insert a witty joke listing a bunch of spin-offs here, but every spin-off is in constant danger of being used for a future DT episode, so I'll forgo it. What I will say is that, boys, the exec's called.
Again?
Hot damn.
And they've got a pitch for us inspired by a historic and culturally imperative franchise which recently saw its spin-off series added to Netflix. Luckily, we here at DT HQ have worked with the franchise before. So, when the execs asked us to make a Forged in Fire, Knife or Death episode, we just couldn't say no.
It's such a stupid title.
Matt couldn't say no, and we all got drug along.
I would like to say right now, this is my new favorite show.
No.
I knew it.
It's unironically incredible.
I watched a grown man come onto the show with like a 200-year-old sword that broke in half as he was chopping at a block
3
of ice.
times.
Right.
For those unaware, let me fill you in. Fifth Cod is a
Nope.
night sport.
Try again.
Abbreviations are for things that society agrees upon. This is not that.
What, you don't like Fifth Cod? I thought that was pretty good.
You should stop saying that.
Is Fifth Cod like the new Kingdom Hearts coming out? Is that what that is?
Fifth Cod over 280 through 2 days.
No, I hate that joke more than anything else.
What it really is a knife sports centric spin-off of History Channel's Forged in Fire. Now, we talked extensively about knife sports at length in episode 55, Let the Kabatis Hit the Floor, and at length about Forged in Fire in episode 76, Forged in a Ding Dang Hellfire. So, I will not be defining those terms now, but both episodes will be linked in the show notes. As we coast our way into the third month of 2023, we have once again been both smothered and covered by Hollywood's take on comic books.
I don't like that.
This is oozing with imagery today, Matt.
Yeah.
I wrote this a week ago when I had more sparkle in my eye and apparently more adjectives in mind. We've gotten announcements, trailers, shows, and a whole movie in just the first 60 days of the year. So who knows what will come in the next 296? As is tradition, the execs would like us to help them capitalize on this comic cacophony by pitching something from comics to be the titular feature of a new comic-based show or movie. But they're not looking for a character. That's boring and uninteresting. No, my dudes, the execs are requesting that we find them the best bladed weapon from all of comics to be brought to life in the future of comic book culture. So I have gathered experts in both blade sports and comic books, Andrew David Bowie Henderson, Kyle Chelsea Dagger Harper, and Todd Danny Trejo Thomas to this abandoned warehouse filled with scaffolding to determine what is the best blade in books.
Let me guess. They're all divorced dads.
I was so
You don't
ready
know
to
if
be
I'm
like,
right or
"You're
wrong."
right, Kyle," and you caught me off guard.
Is a Trejo a kind of knife?
No. Do you know who Danny Trejo?
He's
yeah.
machete.
And a machete is a type of knife. I had a
Yeah.
really
Okay.
hard time finding a third
third
one
one.
with a knife
Knife.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna do like Knives Chow from Scott Pilgrim, but that sort of
Yeah.
gave away the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Divorced dads is better.
Well, sorry,
different.
there wasn't a
It's
wiki
different.
for that.
There
There's
should
definitely
be.
a wiki for divorced dads.
Yeah, there has to
All
be.
right, fine. Wikipedia. I'm gonna look now. Divorce.
What if Danny
dads.
Trejo's at the top of it?
Danny Trejo presents the divorced dad Wikipedia.
10 famous divorced dads. Number 6 will blow your mind.
There is not divorced dads, but there is a page called Deadbeat Dads.
Oh.
So
Oh, it feels
that seems
somehow that feels worse.
Danny Trejo has been married and divorced 4 times and has 3 children. So,
You called it.
and
There
I
you
know
go.
David Bowie is a divorced dad, and I think Chelsea Dagger is fictional. Therefore, I am right. They're all divorced dads.
Chelsea Dagger is a song by the Fratellis. I don't know how many times it's been married or how many children it has. Yeah. Anyway, now there's no way to truly judge the charisma and the raw power of a blade better than by smashing it into a bunch of shit while industrial metal plays in the background.
Scientifically proven to be true. Yes.
Pretty good.
And there's no one who knows more about that than WWE's Bill Goldberg. So please allow me to welcome to the mic WWE's Bill Goldberg.
WWE's Bill Goldberg. Man, let me just say, I'm so glad
Holy
that you
shit.
could. Yeah, this is wild. I'm so
We got
glad
him in
you were
the
able to
studio.
join us here, Debate This. Longtime fan of Debate This, WWE's Bill Goldberg.
Really a pleasure to be here on Debate This today.
It's pretty good.
Warriors, we have brought you here to this abandoned warehouse to put both you and your blades through the ultimate test. But before we let you secrete your sweat on this sweet stage, you must first tell us about the construction and backstory of your blades. Then my friend Travis here will use it to cut the rug. Andrew, we'll start with you.
Well, WWE's Goldberg. You see here, this here blade is actually the legendary sword Graham, which was originally wielded by Asgard's first hero, the ever-glorious Sigurd, when he slayed the dragon Fafnir. Well, you see, the legend tells of a time long before Odin was known as the All-Father and simply as Prince Odin, son of Bor. Prince Odin and a traveling companion had slain a giant river otter and claimed its meat and its pelt. And then later, the two arrived at an inn, only to discover that giant river otter was none other than Otyr, the shapeshifter, and also one of the 3 sons to the inn's proprietor. And so, to make amends, Odin and his traveling companion paid the blood price by hunting the dwarf Andvari, who, for whatever reason, was also able to shapeshift into a form of a monstrous pike, which is a fish. Guys, Norse mythology is rad.
Yeah.
In a way, none other piece of fiction is equally as rad. Okay, so the two then bested Andvari and claimed his hoard of gold, which they then brought back to the inn as amends for murdering Otyr. Vanir, the father, was satisfied with the payment, but Otyr's brother, Regan, vowed revenge. However, that revenge would quickly be cut short because Otyr's other brother, Fafnir, immediately murdered his brother and father and claimed the gold hoard for himself and hid out in a deep cavern. Okay? So time went on, and Fafnir's greed took over, and he slowly became the gluttonous dragon that reflected his own heart. Regan the Vengeful, however, did not die, and instead spent his days plotting both his brother's death and the death of all of Asgard. He forged a sword that could slice through dragon's hide like butter, and waited for the day he could find a hero strong enough to wield it. And so, WWE's Bill Goldberg, before long, the then not yet heroic Asgardian Sigurd passed through the inn, okay? Regan told Sigurd that if he used the sword to kill Fafnir, he would be able to keep the sword and the gold, as long as Sigurd returned with Fafnir's heart. Little did Sigurd know, Regan the Vengeful planned on murdering Sigurd in turn upon his return. Unfortunately for Regan, Sigurd did return with Fafnir's heart in tow, but upon roasting and tasting dragon's blood, Sigurd could hear the warning of Regan's treachery from a magpie, that's a bird, sitting on the windowsill, and killed Regan before he could stab him. Sigurd left with the gold and the sword Graham. And I have here the sword Graham today for you, Travis, and WWE's Bill Goldberg.
Andrew, a question for you, from me, Matt, the moderator, not WWE's Bill Goldberg.
Sure.
If you could you just explain to me what trope of fifth COD contestant you are portraying here with your accent?
Yeah, I'd love to, Matt. It's the history buff. It's the history nerd
Yes.
who just recently got into Blade Sports by way of a YouTube video.
I love it. Andrew, are you here today kilt or no kilt?
I will let the listeners.
let the
I will
listener
let that
decide.
be the theater of the mind. You decide, listeners.
Well, that sounds like a pretty righteous backstory for that blade, and I'm sure it'll cut the carpet. Kyle,
Thank you, WWE's Bill Goldberg.
Kyle, what have you brought for us here today to the fifth COD stage?
Yeah, Goldberg, I got a sword here, forged by the god Hephaestus in the fires of Mount Olympus. Made it to assassinate titans. It's the magical shape-shifting sword God Killer is gonna be what I use to compete here today.
Kyle came as my history teacher.
Hephaestus, I'm told he forged God Killer to follow through on a deal he made with a fallen god, and he passed off this assassination contract to the assassin Deathstroke, and to help him assassinate titans, gave him this shape-shifting sword God Killer that imbues him with godlike power and makes him an ultimate killing machine. And I brought it here today because I think he'll do a really good job hacking up hunks of ice and breaking down boxes.
That really is the impetus of the question here today. It's like, which of these excellent swords will you destroy a box with?
Yeah.
Kyle, now that's a pretty cool story, and I like that part about Hephaestus and the killing of the Titans, but isn't God Killer just Christian Bale? Did you just bring Christian Bale to compete today?
That's a different continuity there, Bill. You're mixing up your Marvel and your DC histories here. This is a DC weapon, not Marvel weapon.
I don't know WWE's Bill Goldberg personally, but I feel like he's one of the people who doesn't understand that, like, the DC movies and the Marvel movies are in different universes.
Now, Bill, the DC universe is going to have, like, your Superman and Batman, Wonder Woman, and all that. Marvel is going to be, like, your Tony Starks, your Captain Americas.
Do you guys... Hey, I have a show idea. Speaking of
Yeah,
spin-offs,
right?
can we have a show where just Kyle explains comics as everybody's dad?
Oh my god.
Okay, back to the bit. Todd, it's your turn. Tell me about your sweet sword that you're gonna compete with to slice these things.
I think I was gonna do woodshop owner, but I think Kyle kind of nailed that, so I'll go a different direction. Greetings and konnichiwa, WWE's Bill Goldberg. This here is the universe's first symbiote, known as All Black the Necro Sword. Born using the power of a slain celestial and forged in the fires of its hollowed out head, using its lifeless shell as a living forge of sorts, All Black has served as a catalyst for once more uniting symbioses from across the universe, and it may in fact be the first home forged blade to ever exist. And by home forged, I mean created using cosmic blood of a dead universe builder. And by blade, I mean original symbiote that perhaps predates the stars in the sky above.
Symbiote.
This baby has been honed on celestial blood, the gods of various religions from comics, and the gallon jugs of water for my YouTube channel. You can find that YouTube at All Pat the Heck of a Sword. This is specifically like they don't listen to the show. I have cousins that own an ATV shop, and like, hey cousin Rod, you're not listening to this, but if you were, This is kind of you.
I don't know, Todd. Cousin Rod probably needs a lot of background noise on during the day in his ATV.
It's
No,
true.
he doesn't.
It's
No,
true.
he
He
doesn't.
might listen to his favorite cousin Todd's podcast.
It's a lot of things Cousin Rod needs, and it's not this.
Formerly favorite cousin Todd's podcast.
No, I didn't crack the top 3 of that list. Anyway, I'm going to say symbiote's a real lot of time today. You're welcome.
Well, I do think it is pretty awesome that you forged your own blade for this competition today.
I brought mine between 2 pieces of plywood.
Oh, God, what have I done? Okay, all right. All right. My homeboy Travis has fondled your weapons and has confirmed to me that it will cut. Now it's time for you to tackle our insane obstacle course, where you'll have to chop rope, ice, meat, metal, time, and the hearts of America to make it on to our final round. So tell me how your chosen cosmic weapons will empower you, a soft, squishy nerd, to slice and dice your way through this radical romp with your razor. Andrew, it's your turn.
Well, WWE's Bill Goldberg, you see here, this here sword, Graham, well, it has a couple of nifty little tricks up its sleeve. For starters, you see if I just real quick slice this down Travis's open palm, just like this.
Not my homeboy Travis.
You'll notice that your homeboy Travis will start retching right there on the ground as he is surrounded by what looks like little lightning bolts. Well, WWE's Bill Goldberg, those aren't actually lightning bolts, but rather they are the physical manifestations of Graham's magical power to force anyone touched by its blade to reveal the truth. Oh, and whoops, looks like you were all too worried about rushing to Travis's aid that you didn't actually see me stab myself with Graham to reveal my true form!
God.
What's happening?
That's right.
What's happening?
That's right, you sniveling mortals. It is I, Loki, god of mischief.
Okay. I see what
Sometimes
happened.
also god of evil and casual blade sports enthusiast. I've come to claim mine victory in the dead run, which will almost certainly directly lead to my claiming the throne as Midgard's unquestioned ruler for all eternity or whatever. Now, WWE's Bill Goldberg, while I did not forge this blade thyself, you and your fellow peasants may rejoice to find that it was I who guided the series of events of Graham's creation. For, you see, it was I who traveled back to the past and guided the hand of my would-be adopted father. I murdered Otyr in his otter form and then convinced Odin to allow me safe passage to claim Andvari's gold by way of an M20 recoilless rocket launcher to the face. Yes, this all happens in Agent of Asgard. It's incredible.
Great.
What in the world?
Thinking he had bested me in his dying breath, Andvari cursed the gold hoard to prevent anyone near it from lying. But in my infinite wisdom, no lie was needed to sow the seeds of malcontent in the hearts of Regan and Fafnir, and before I knew it, Fafnir had slain his brother and father. Over time, the curse of the gold transferred into Fafnir's body and blood, and so it goeth. When he was slain by Sigurd, the cursed blood covered the sword and transferred its magical properties once more. Finally, it was I who appeared in the guise of a simple magpie and warned Sigurd of Regan's betrayal. Once Sigurd left Asgard and the sword behind him, I appeared yet again to Odin upon the day of Bor's death and convinced him to seal away the weapon in a box, sealed with 5 keys scattered across the 10 realms, so that I could ensure no one else would claim the sword, except, of course, mine own future self. Oh, and whilst I was revealing mine own deception, Travis has been compelled to share with me all of the inner workings of each of your pitiful challenges. He has already explained in great detail how to anchor my lower body to reserve stamina in ice pick, and the ideal downward angle with which to attack the plastic bucket in stick and move. Now watch as I execute this challenge with the dexterous finesse of a higher being. Is Loki.
Wow.
Just really something.
Thanks.
What you did
Wow.
Thank you.
Man. Okay. All right. Every once in a while, someone really commits to a bit on this podcast.
there. What listeners didn't see is Andrew did an arm flourish when he revealed himself
I
as
was
Loki.
doing jazz hands the whole time.
The jazz hands help him stay in character as Loki.
It honestly does. Honestly, really does.
All right. Well, I, WWE's Bill Goldberg, am a little confused as to how you have come to join us here today, God of Mischief Loki. However, I will allow you to compete, for I, Bill Goldberg, am a merciful God. Now, Kyle, it is your turn. Tell me how you will make it across our radical romp with your razor.
Yeah, Bill. So as I said, this is a godly sword. And it shapeshifts. So kind of changes its shape to match the fighting style of the wielder, as well as the challenge that they're going to face. So no matter what part of the course I'm at, I will have the proper weapon in my hands, and that weapon is, as I said before, God Killer.
He thinks this is a little unfair.
In addition to its shape-shifting ability, though, it also crackles with eldritch power, and that eldritch power guides the hand of its wielder to strike swift and true. So not only do I plan to dominate the course today with the help of God Killer, I also plan to set the course record, as all of my strikes are gonna one-hit every challenge today, and I think I'm just gonna fly right through the course.
Now, Kyle, you sound like a man with a lot of confidence, and every time I see a man with a lot of confidence take on Lifeline at the end of our course, they falter when they get to the fish. So, I need you to tell me what shape your shape-shifting blade will take to slice that cod with its own rod. That didn't work out as well. Just go with it.
I think that worked out great.
Thank you.
I loved it.
It's hard to say. The sword wields me more than I wield the sword sometimes. But if I had to guess, it's gonna be like a big old meat cleaver or a broadsword, something with a lot of heft that I can just slice right through that fish with the weight of the blade doing most of the work.
You sound like a man who is going to make it through that fish, which leads me to believe you will not cut through that fish. Todd.
If I've learned anything from the 4 episodes I watched, the man who is a literal butcher did not cut through that fish. And we were talking about it before the recording. WWE's Bill Goldberg lost his shit.
He sure did.
All right, Todd, tell me about your blade.
I already forgot the voice. It doesn't matter.
It's your cousin Rod.
Yeah, right. Well, we don't talk much. It is unsurprising that All Black has cut through that rolled up yoga mat, Travis. All Black exists only due to the shadows that complement the light in the world around us. You see, the early makers of the universe saw the realm that birthed All Black and the endless dark vacuum of the void that is in fact outer space. They saw it as something of incomplete and needing their design. That right there was their error, though. They laid claim to the dominion of the infinite abyss, and they named it space, as if it were something that needed filled, you see. The void, it was not lacking of anything except potential. The void was breathing, the abyss has teeth, and it craved blood. That right there, Travis, was when All Black was born, to strike down those that imprison the shadows, because as we all know, light doesn't destroy shadows. Shadows, in fact, can only grow in the presence of light, right?
This is what happens when Cousin Rod reads Carl Sagan.
Anywho, that finely crafted blade you see emerging, pulsating, growing from my very human arm is a prime candidate to cut through those spinning strands of meat over there. Its power to imprison the souls of its victims and claim dominion over the symbiotes across the far reaches of the universe, which does include control over a massive flying symbiote dragon, means I'm more than equipped to cut that above average size fish clean in half in the first round with just a single strike. Mr. Goldberg, dare I say, the nimbleness of this living piece of weaponry will all but certainly be able to cut clean through the sugar cane for the final event, easily compensating for my frail flannel-covered man arms.
Your cousin Rod somehow became Daniel Craig's character from Knives Out.
It did evolve a bit.
I don't really know how he got there.
There's a null quote where he talks about, like, this grew from the shadows because light creates shadow, and I got really into that for a second, which somehow drove me to
southern Georgia accent. Yeah,
fancy linen suit,
Fancy
wearing.
Southern chicken lawyer.
I just see. I am just a Southern chicken lawyer. You see, I might like that better.
A fancy Southern chicken lawyer is what you have to cut in half in the next round.
Can that be an archetype in Knife for Fight?
Fancy Southern chicken lawyer. I don't know. Season 2 comes to Netflix the day after this episode releases, so we'll find out.
What other things are they going to cut in half?
All right, you've
Bigger
done great,
fish.
competitors. You cut a fish in half. You played Fruit Ninja in real life. You did at least 5 minutes of hard cardio, but your final and most dangerous challenge still awaits. Warriors, it's time for you to put on either your PR and or marketing cap. The execs have one
They're the
more
same
requirement for you, so please allow me to bring my best friend Matt Cole back to the mic. All right, dudes, as cool as your weapons are, we know Hollywood won't go for a spin-off of Just a Weapon. We're going to introduce your blade to its cinematic universe before giving it its own show. So, with that in mind, I need you to explain to me how we can strong-arm your weapon into an already announced upcoming superhero project from any studio.
Could you imagine if Disney announced like a Mjolnir show for Disney Plus?
That would be pretty
Do
wild.
you not believe that they wouldn't announce a Mjolnir cartoon? They did Baby Groot.
I would have definitely believed it 4 months ago.
After Thor: Love and
Baby
Thunder, I would
Groot
have believed it.
and Mjolnir are very different.
Are they?
entities to-
After
Yes.
Thor 4, I don't know that they are, Kyle.
They both
Yeah.
sell a lot of toys.
They do both.
We
sell a
saw
lot of toys.
Stormbreaker appear floating in off screen as a jealous ex.
That's
So I
true.
don't know that we couldn't see Mjolnir on a fantastic voyage.
Yeah, the axe.
I
drank
choose
beer
to
in that
believe
movie.
that all characterization of Stormbreaker was entirely in Thor's head, and Stormbreaker and Mjolnir both remain mostly non-sentient.
I like that canon better than what Taika
is.
Waititi gave us.
Also agreed. Well, WWE's Bill Goldberg's best friend Matt Cole, what project better suits Graham's glorious purpose better than as a device for revealing schemes and skullduggery? Therefore, I submit that the answer must be as the Deus Ex Machina for the upcoming Secret Invasion series. I can't roll my R's. That would have been a lot better if I could roll my R's.
No one's paying attention to your R's on this
It's
video
just
because
the
you're
flare.
just bouncing your shoulders back and forth with every like fourth consonant.
Am I not staying in character except for when I broke character?
You're but a flouncy man.
Just
right now.
imagine the babbling masses viewing the exploits of Midgar's second-tier Avengers, pointing their primitive guns at each other as chaos reigns. When all hope is but lost, a hero emerges at the 11th hour with the power of unyielding truth at their beck and call. That's right, you droves of middling simpletons. It is I, Loki, your savior, come to free you from the perils of free will and indecision. Go watch Loki Season 2, available now only on Disney+.
It is not available now on Disney Plus, listeners.
But I will it to be.
I mean, in theory, depending on when you listen to this, it might be on Disney Plus. We don't know.
Time is an illusion.
Okay, now we're leaning into it.
All right, Kyle, go ahead. What movie or show or project or whatever are
That one had
you
layers, Andrew. Jesus.
inserting God Butcher into?
Yeah, Matt. So, we all know Jimmy Gunn is rebooting the DC universe and throwing out all the parts of it that don't work, which is why some incredibly popular projects like Batwoman and a Batman movie starring Michael Keaton, directed by Benji Affleck, were scrapped for another Ezra Miller vehicle that also has Michael Keaton as Batman. But not among those canceled projects is a hero that regularly fights gods in the DC universe. Of course, I am talking about Shazam. We have Shazam Fury of the Gods coming out soon, and from the look of the trailers, he's gonna need some help. So when this episode drops, Shazam Fury of the Gods is still gonna be a whole 10 days away, which should be plenty of time for some quick reshoots to put God killer in the hands of old Zachary Levi and give the people what they want. Some good old-fashioned God slaying.
Can we just superimpose the sword over Zachary Levi? And it's just
Are
the
you
sword?
are you saying like in his hands or instead of Zachary
No,
Levi?
instead of.
Okay, that's better.
Not just
Yeah.
like a Snapchat filter that puts
Yeah.
the sword in his hand.
I want to
whenever
be
he's
clear.
on
It's not
screen.
ever in his hand.
One of those two things thinks Jordan Peterson has a lot of good thoughts, and it's not the God killer.
Oh my god.
Oh, wow. Wow, I've seen every episode of Forged in Fire, Knife or Death more times than I've seen a single trailer for Fury of the Gods.
Yeah.
Anyway, Todd, what are we putting the Necro Sword into?
Well, you see, I think I'm going Southern Chicken Lawyer now.
Your cousin Rod got
I see.
passed the bar.
Cousin Rod Esquire.
They are one and the same in my head, and Thanksgiving's gonna be very strange for me because of it. Now you see here.
I'd say. I'd say I'll litigate you.
I'm
It's a
just
fancy
a simple
Southern
man
ATV lawyer.
who cuts ping pong balls in the backyard, friends. All right. You see, they already did a little bit with the Necro Sword in Thor 4. Maybe even a little bit in Thor 3, I guess. But Thor 4 was the only showing, and they only hit all the bad parts of All Black story. You see, here's the lore there that Null created this sword. It is the very first symbiote is All Black. And Gore the God Butcher, he didn't even get it until he just found it. It was just lying around, which Null got attacked by golden gods and he died for a little bit, and then Gore found the sword and then he gave the sword back later. It's weird. There is time travel. Multiple Thors from multiple different timelines joined together with the power of friendship. Not important.
Comics are silly.
Comics are silly.
But also really good sometimes.
Yeah.
Also really good.
You see, there are a couple options of movies that we know to be coming up that could be good options for All Black the Necro Sword to show up. I'm going to list 3 and only talk about 1 for obvious reasons. You see, the first 2 movies that it could be that we know are surely to come, Venom 3 and Spider-Man 4. Now, I feel like if we go into All Black the Necro Sword in one of those 2, we're jumping the shark. Maybe we don't do the god of all symbiotes in those movies. Seems a little too much. Now, Eternals 2.
Oh God.
I think we can save that movie with the goopy sword. What we got is a lot of great plots with some not so great movies. And I guarantee we could talk about Eternals 2 with All Black the Necro Sword. You see, All Black was birthed from the void when Celestial showed up in a space within the universe where Null was just floating around, just floating out there. And then the Celestials showed up and they're like, we're here to build planets. And Null was like, no. And he killed one and he hollowed out its head and he made a symbiote knife inside the thing's head. Anyway, what I'm here to say is that what better way to make a movie that may not be good than to add a goopy sword. We're just going to make a goopy sword in Eternals 2, and it'll probably have a bad name and it won't be great, but it'll have important plot points. But hey, we're going to get a goopy sword. And isn't that what we all want? All right.
Can we just get one more goopy sword clean?
What we got here is a real goopy sword.
Perfect.
I find if you put the emphasis in different parts of the word, it's a new adventure every time.
GOOPEH.
a real goopy sword.
Okay, all right. Well, you done did it. You made it through the whole thing. You got up to the top. You cut that final piece of sugar cane. 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 minutes showed up on the screen in front of you, and everybody clapped.
That math is imaginary, and no one understands it.
I disagree with my 4 penalties.
The weight didn't touch the ground before you crossed the line.
God
That's on
damn it,
you.
WWE's Bill Goldberg.
You see, you cut the water when it was swinging back the other way, and it didn't extinguish the little bit of candle.
I invented Fruit Ninja. Okay, let's move on.
All right, we need to make sure that our pitch is fully fleshed out. And to do so, I have a super secret bonus question. So, we're doing some early work on merchandising, and we need to know how we can toyify your weapon while still translating its epic powers into safe and child-friendly way so that we can make sure we do not only get butts in seats, we get toys in hands, which puts money in wallets. We will take your pitches for toys right after this.
Welcome to the Cyberpunk Lorecast, where we brave scanning the net to find all the deep history and lore of cyberpunk.
I'm Toasty, a fixer that's new to Night City with a desire to jump into the details of this gritty setting.
And I'm Genesis, an old school media tech with a love of character deep dives.
Together, we will bring you the foundations of the past, the state of Night City today, and the news of the future.
We've got incoming. Let's Delta.
All right, welcome back. We are here to hear your final pitches. I said here kind of close together, but it was an E-R-E and an E-A-R.
They're homonyms. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Anyway, both myself and WWE's Bill Goldberg are very excited to hear about how you are going to translate the epic and awesome power of your chosen bladed weapon into a toy for children. Andrew, we'll start with you.
Yeah, hey, it's me. I'm Andrew. I'm going to speak on behalf of Loki over here, who went to go get a drink of water. So here's the deal. It's 2023. We have technology now, right? We don't need to rely on the magics of the old world. We don't need to rely on the powers of gods. So I propose that we do something totally normal and scientific and Jurassic Park backwards DNA, Fafnir's skeletal remains, and then synthesize that DNA into an oil coating that will go on every toy Graham sword. Now, wait, you might be thinking, why would we do that? That's wild. Well, because a toy sword is a toy sword, but a toy sword that can force your friends to always tell the truth. Now that is a gift worth giving. So the way that this is going to work is now we want to be safe. We don't want kids to stab each other, right? I think we can all agree on that. The oil coating, once it comes in contact with the skin, much like a poison ivy, will just immediately be absorbed into the bloodstream and will essentially grant the same effect as being stabbed by the actual Graham, in that, like, you are unable to tell a lie. And what parent doesn't want their children to be forced into telling the truth all the time? Because there's absolutely no bad repercussions that can come from that. Anyway, I see the rest of my time.
Jim Carrey made a whole movie about the bad repercussions
Sure,
of that.
Yeah.
Todd here.
Yeah, hey,
check
Todd.
it in. Just to make sure we're going to coat things with poison and stab people
What's that?
with them.
Oh, sorry. Was that Loki? What's that, Loki? It's not poison. It's not poison. No, it's so weird.
To prepare for Ant-Man 3 Fast, 3 Furious, I watched Ant-Man 2 Tokyo Drift, and I know what I did there, and I don't apologize.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole bit about truth serum over and over and over again. It's not truth serum. I feel like
Right.
feel like you manufactured a truth serum that we're going to sell at Target.
I mean, I didn't not.
Fair.
All right, Kyle, talk to me about the toy version of the God Killer.
Yeah, Matt, I don't know much about merchandising or children's toys, but I do know when I got my kids for the weekend, they really like playing with them their Transformer toys. And since one of God Killer's main features is its shape-shifting abilities, I think we got something there, like a toy sword that you fold into a different shape and it's a different kind of sword, and then you fold it again and it's a third kind of sword, and then
What are
maybe
the different kinds of swords?
I don't know. One's got you got a dual wielded like sword like that guy from the Star Wars, and then you know another one is like more of a big long sword like Highlander has, and then then maybe you like take it apart and you get two smaller ninja swords. I don't know.
I want to live in this moment where Kyle continues to describe swords. We can just get another 2 to 3 minutes of this.
Yeah, and then one of them's then you fold it up again, and it turns into one of them big long like Arabian scimitars, and then you fold it a little more, and it becomes a tiny little dagger that they can sneak around and go like get their brother or sister with it. Kids love that kind of stuff. I think you put some buttons on there that make it light up and make some noise, and I think you got a great toy for the holiday season. Everyone will love.
Okay, and Todd, round us out. Tell me about your toy.
Well, you see what we got here is, I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
Todd's
I've
been
lost
4 different people.
He's fully a cartoon character.
Well, you see, Mr. Bill Goldberg of WWE fame, who's on this Netflix show, I took a couple ideas that I know the kids are going to like. Kids love Hulk hands. That's going to be an important building block to what I'm doing here. Kids also love Nerf things, similar to Hulk hands, but I think you see where we're going. Nerf style Hulk hand, but it's the size of a surfboard, you see. So it's gonna be real big Nerf kind of style Hulk hand. But here's the thing: the material it's gonna make, because I mentioned this is a real goopy sword, and the material that goes into it is halfway between Nerf material and halfway between those sticky slap hands you get out of the quarter machines. We got a big floppy goopy surfboard that just attaches to your hand and you just slap it around. And I think the kids are gonna like it, and that's about it. Only kids are gonna like this. Parents will in fact hate this. You will want to play with it outside, I guess, unless you do not value the property within your home. It's a big goopy surfboard slap hand, and it goes around your arm.
Well, okay. Those are
Is this what you wanted, Matt? Is this what you wanted today?
I gave up trying to figure out what I wanted from this podcast 5 seasons ago.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's round this out. I'm going to bring back WWE's Bill Goldberg to hear your closing statement. So here he is. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Well, WWE's Bill Goldberg, we've had a lot of fun today.
We sure have.
We've seen some men get stabbed. We've seen a lot of other just really incomprehensible things.
Less fish get cut in half than you'd expect.
Less fish getting cut in half, yeah. More yoga mats, less fish. Now, Bill Goldberg, Graham might not be as big or as powerful or as world-ending as some of the other weapons my fellow challengers have brought today. But I promise you that Graham does 2 things very, very well. One, it will hack the absolute shit out of a 60-pound albacore tuna. And 2, it will reverse the damage done when Red Skull arrives in your made-up Eastern European kingdom to embed the citizens with concentrated hate telepathy that's sourced from the collective unconsciousnesses of Charles Xavier and Magneto by stabbing a large sonic emitter created by Reed and Sue Richards' daughter from another universe. Those are the 2 things that Graham will do.
Well, Andrew, I have to say you really put that in terms I can understand, and I appreciate that. Kyle, give me your closing statement.
Yeah, Bill, there's not much more to say. Like I said, I set the course record here today. Every one of my strikes hit strong and true due to the enhancing ability of God Killer. On top of that, it's a shape-shifting sword, so it really can be whatever type of blade you like. I don't think there's really a question of what's best here, because it's a sword that's all swords. I can't do much better than that.
I hear they call those a real Metal Dracula situation. It sounds like a real Metal Dracula kind of sword to me.
I don't know anything about no Metal Draculas, but I'll tell you,
Simple chicken lawyer.
I'll tell you, Bill, that Metal Dracula does sound pretty cool. I might go try and catch that movie after I watch that there Cocaine Bear. That sounds pretty fun as well.
All right, Todd, round us out. What's your closing statement for me, WWE's Bill Goldberg?
Well, you see, WWE's Mr. Bill Goldberg, From the endless depths of space, I bring you this here Goopa sword made of symbiote that does what matters most to us home forgers. 1, it controls a dragon made out of symbiotes. And 2, and most importantly, it can cut through a bucket of sand in no less than 3 strikes. And I think that's what we came here to do today. And I saw that weight hit the ground after all black struck through it. And I waited to cross the line until the weight had fully touched the ground. A lot of people missed that still.
All right. Well, that is all that we could afford WWE's Bill Goldberg for. So he is already back in his trailer. I will be concluding this episode with you guys here today, which means I have a long conversation to have with the execs about what direction we are going to go as far as blades in future comic properties go. So while we are making those decisions, why don't you give each other some good vibes?
Yeah, I mean, this was incredible. This was just a real good stupid time. Kyle, somebody had to come with the thing that can be all of the things, and frankly, I'm just glad it wasn't Todd for once.
I came real close.
You did come real
Did bring
close.
a goopy sword.
But yeah, I loved your caricature. I loved that we both brought different types of mythology that was definitely like dumbed down by a comic property, because that's always the best kind of story. Todd, All Black the Necro Sword, you called that shot very early. It's a good lore, it's a good weapon. You did it well, and I'm sorry to Cousin Rod for today's episode.
Hey, we can do a lot of things, and we probably need to apologize for a lot of things over the 5 years of this show. We don't ever need to apologize to my cousin Rod.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'd also like to start out by apologizing to Todd's cousin Rod. I'm sorry for what we did to your character here today. Andrew, you brought a sword that I think is also like a real mythological sword.
It is. It does come from Norse mythology.
Yeah, and then got turned into a dumb comic book sword as well, which is also very cool. I'm glad you did that. And then, Todd, you brought another version of the sword I brought, which is the sword that can be all swords. And also yours is made by like an eldritch king and all these awesome other cool things. So very good.
You know, for doing this podcast as long as we've done, we've talked so little about venom and symbiotes, and so was thrilled that I was given the opportunity to do that today. Andrew, what you did was a theater presentation. I only called out your wild hands and bouncing shoulders because I really wanted the audience to be immersed in this with us today. I feel like some of what you talked about probably tie back to like the Warriors 3. Felt like it had that energy. I don't know who, didn't you say Sigurd at one point?
I don't know a lot of the Marvel canon, but basically the story revolves around, so Sigurd is like the first, is a Norse mythology character, but is also like considered to be like Asgard's first hero.
Oh, cool.
So Sigurd wields the blade Graham, but in Loki at Agent of Asgard, there's this whole thing where like it's revealed that Loki went back in time by walking outside of a panel.
Sure.
Future Loki, we talked about this during the Loki show, but like future Loki that comes back as King Loki went back in time to basically like machinate the series of events that would lead to Graham ending up in Sigurd's hands and then convincing Odin to seal it in a box that like no one would ever know to look for, so that he could then later get it. It's so stupid and great.
The way that comics take an existing storyline and then a decade later like, oh shit, you know what? Let's just fuck with that.
Yeah,
exactly.
I actually really, really like that. And so that's very, very fun.
It's incredible.
Kyle, your introduction. So again, I was thinking about going shop teacher, forged in fire guy, and you nailed it by talking about explaining the god Hephaestus and Mount Olympus. It was like a shop teacher combined with like the teacher that had to teach Norse mythology, like just had to teach Greek mythology that year and was just reading it out of the book.
One of my favorite kinds of characters, both like to see and to do, is someone that talks like an idiot, like talks like a cartoon character, but has like average to above average, like is a normal person you would encounter, but just like has this kind of cartoon voice that like you can't take seriously. Like
we had a teacher in high school that he taught history and government and did fine. But he was also contractually obligated to teach psych and soc, which he was not fine.
Ugh.
And so, like, what you did today, like, again, a good man, but just, like, reading out of the book that he learned the day before he taught us about it. And I can really just appreciate that. And this is, shout out to Matt for making us do another Forged in Fire episode.
Excellent.
This show is the stupidest, dumbest show you could ever just turn on and shut your brain off for.
It's the perfect, like, I need something to watch while eating dinner.
It's exclusively for people who like don't have a streaming service yet. That is who this show is for.
It is for people to show up with their finely crafted blades that some of them are like, I bought it.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, what's the story with this blade? Bought it? And you're like, oh, okay. And then
Yeah, it's so wild because like the original Forged in Fire is on History Channel and it is not a historical show, but they try to like play that up by being like, well, this sword was used in the blanket war or whatever.
Not here. They're not even pretending
it's
anymore.
Like, nah, fuck it. We're just gonna hip ropes.
After 10 o'clock, we don't have to pretend to do history anymore. So.
I mean, we made the joke a couple times, but the funniest thing in the show is just the number of people that can't cut through that fish.
That fish, man.
It's hard.
They have to hack through a block of ice that has a tube of paint in it, and after that, it's game over. They just can't cut through that
Top
fish.
10 anime villains. That fish. That Forged in Fire, Knife or Death.
And then, wait, sorry, I'll pass it back to you in a second, Matt. And then they cut through the fish, and they cut through the sheet of meat.
I'm sorry, Todd. Are you referring to the curtain call?
The curtain call, yeah. And then I think they have to cut through the sheet of metal that round too.
Yeah,
But then they have to just like slam their blade into a big stump that's just there.
Yeah.
And you know that they tell them to like pause when they stab the sword into the stump because they all pause in like that flow and they look like idiots as the camera pans around.
The stump that is like staged like it's the fucking like Iron Throne from Game of Thrones, but it's just a hunk of wood.
Like they built this warehouse around that stump.
Well, it's Yggdrasil, the life tree.
Right. That stump is on bar cart wheels. Like you can tell they like just have to lock the wheels and like, all right, stump's in place. Bring in WWE's Bill Goldberg.
Oh, yeah. That stump goes back in a warehouse after the 72 hours of shooting they do straight for this show.
Anyway, suffice to say, this is all very, very good. Everyone did great with the knives they found and brought today that may or may not be cursed.
All right. Well, it is time for me to report my decision that I have made alongside the execs and a last-minute call to WWE's Bill Goldberg. And I do have some bad news. That bad news is that one of you was not able to cut the fish in half. And unfortunately, that person was Kyle. Kyle, you did not make it past Lifeline, and you are not going to be able to be considered for the final winner. And I'll tell you, the reason you didn't make it past the fish, you were too confident about making it past the fish.
That's exactly what it is.
I don't trust your science or logic. I did cut through the fish and set the course record.
Methinks a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And that brings me down to Andrew and Todd. So the Necro Sword and Graham. And I really liked both of your answers. I really liked a Southern chicken lawyer saying "goopy sword." I like that a lot.
But what about Todd's cousin Rod?
He also
who he was at the beginning of the episode.
Todd's cousin Rod sounds so made up, man.
Listen, me and my characters have grown as a person over the last 50 minutes.
Anyway, that leaves me Todd's cousin Rod and Andrew. And I gotta say, the mental image of Loki, God of Mischief, running Dead Run was too good for me to let go of. And so I'm going to give this victory to Andrew and Graham of Norse fame.
Brilliant
or whatever.
victory!
Congratulations.
Thanks for that.
My cousin Rod's going to have something to say about this.
What a win. I am so sweaty. I'm very sweaty.
Much like all these people that did 5 minutes of
Yes.
cardio.
You're just inappropriate character for this episode.
I feel like I walked hastily up those one little things of stairs.
Was it 5 minutes of cardio or 2 minutes of cardio and 56 penalties? The world will never know. Anyway, thanks for listening to Debate This. You can follow along with the arguments on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at DebateThisCast, or on our website at debatethiscast.com. Hey, if you haven't heard, we have a Patreon. We talk about it a lot. Hope you heard by now, but if you haven't, here's your first time. Patreon.com/DebateThisCast. We are about to wrap up the adventures of the Office drones. We've got a few episodes left after the one that came out last week, and then we will be moving on to our brand new Patreon show, which has yet to be decided. So,
But as of this recording, yes, as of when this episode comes out, there will be a poll up on our Patreon page. So anyone who is on our Patreon may remember we did the Summer O Pilots last year. Hey, now's a great time if you're interested in having access to our premium feed. Now's a great time to join, because right now, if you join today, you will get access to that poll to vote on which of those four pilots will be our next premium feed series, which we expect to be running sometime in summer, maybe, definitely this year. So yeah, patreon.com/debatethiscast. You will get immediate access to that, and also a massive supercut of the pilots that we did. Also, fun things coming up. We are going to be doing our first ever live show, which is really exciting. We're going to be at the Midwest Gaming Classic Con. That is in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, from March 31st to April 2nd. So a month away, basically, at this point. So anyone in that general vicinity, come on out. It should be a really fun show. We've never been to the show before, but it's apparently a really good one. It's a pretty big one. We're really excited. We're not able to go to Portland this year, so this is kind of where we're doing this one, just trying out a couple of other cons. And then we're going to be doing a live DT episode on the side stage at
7 p.m.
on Saturday. I believe that is Saturday the 1st. So yeah, Midwest Gaming Classic, April 1st, 5:30, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, at the Wisconsin Center in Milwaukee.
Yeah, if you're looking for more details on that, you can head to our social media, because this is me saying in the present when we're recording that in the future I'll have posted about it by then on our social media. So follow us on social media at DebateThisCast. And I think that wraps it up for us for housekeeping. So until next time, I'm Matt Cole.
I'm Andrew, Southern Fried Poultry Litigation, Henderson.
I'm Kyle, no gods, no masters, Harper.
And I'm Todd, The Many Divorces of Danny Trejo is a future episode title, Thomas.
And we're saying thanks for debating with us. And if you think we're wrong, you can come fight us behind the swing sets, nerds.